The Effects of Overfishing and Stewardship by Phil Terrence. Overfishing is caused when fish are caught at a faster rate than they reproduce and replenish. It causes excessive waste of unused fish, resulting in pollution, and also endangers the species of fish that are being caught. According to the World Wildlife Organization, the number of overfished stocks globally has tripled in half a century, and today, fully 1/3 of the world's accessed fisheries are currently pushed beyond their biological limits. This is terrible for the environment and for humans because due to the excessive farming of fish, there is bound to be waste. According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, nearly 50 million tons of fish are thrown into the ocean before they can reach the shore. This is because fish is farmed in a huge capacity and the majority of these fish will not meet the standard of consumption. Most fish are also prone to rotting, so by the time the farmers reach the shore, they will have to throw the dead fish back into the water, and this creates waste in the ocean that is harmful to many habitats. The reason that we farm this much fish in the first place is because the majority of the world relies on fish for their source of protein. Even in places where other sources of protein are available, fish is the most consumed protein because it is cheap and easy to cook and access. Fishing subsidies are paid to major fish farming companies to make fish available at such a cheap price, which adds to the problem of overfishing. Overfishing can be prevented with rules put in place by the government to promote fishing rights. However, currently almost every fishery in the world has poor farming management with almost no rules in place to promote ethical farming. Where overfishing is occurring. Overfishing is a global issue, but some countries need to take more action for this problem than others. The Mediterranean Sea is the most overfished sea in the world. 62% of their fish stocks are overfished. Many people who live in the coastal regions of that area are losing their livelihoods because of the decline in fish. In addition, these regions are also losing their main source of protein. Unlike Canada, the US, and other Western regions, coastal regions near the Mediterranean Sea rely on the resources that are farmed on their land. The Mediterranean Sea is an example of an extreme situation where action needs to be taken immediately to stop the crisis. What is being done to stop overfishing? As I said before, the Mediterranean Sea is at a crisis with overfishing. The UN recommends that the government should begin to safeguard habitats where fish grow and limit the number of fish permitted to be farmed from the sea annually. In addition, organizations such as the World Wildlife Fund raise money to earn power in private fishing sectors and work towards improvements in fishing practices. The World Wildlife Fund also works to stop criminals from stealing fisheries. Illegal fishing hinders improving fishing management. As I mentioned earlier, fishing subsidies also contribute to overfishing, so the World Wildlife Fund is working with the World Trade Organization to encourage these rich countries to end fishing subsidies. Why overfishing is a social justice issue. Overfishing is a problem concerning social justice because if we keep on going at the pace that we are currently, we will not have any fish left. This is wrong because many countries, especially islands and coastal regions, rely on fish for most of their protein and cannot maintain a healthy diet without them. Fish is a natural resource that can be used without depleting it completely. Unethical practices are what cause fish to go wasted. In addition, we are selfish, and as time goes by, people become more demanding of getting normal things at luxury. For example, some people kill fish to extract caviar to serve the rich. In these high-end restaurants, the fish usually gets discarded after getting the goods. All these examples are unethical and harmful to the environment. It is a social responsibility to ensure resources for future generations, but we are failing miserably at it. Some organizations that are currently working towards ending overfishing and promoting ethical fishing practices are the World Wildlife Organization, the Environmental Defense Fund, Greenpeace Canada, and Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. I'm sure there are many more, but these are the 4 that are doing the most. What can we do about it? Here's a list of things that we as regular members of society can do to make a change in overfishing. Make mindful consumer choices when buying products, seafood, or fish. For example, buy locally farmed fish, Eat fish that is farmed sustainably. Avoid eating big fish. Avoid buying fish frequently when you have other sources of protein available, and promote these habits to family and friends, which would make an even bigger impact. Another thing that you can do is support organizations that work to end overfishing, such as the ones that I listed in the previous slide. Another thing that we can do is spread the information to friends and families so they can contribute to end overfishing as well, which, as I said before, would make a bigger impact. The Catholic Church more recently has started advocating for the environmental and social justice issues concerning the earth. Overfishing obviously contributes to ocean pollution, which is an environmental issue, so overfishing would fall underneath the category of social justice issues concerning the earth, which is why it is in the Catholic Church's best interest to spread awareness about the topic. In the Catholic Catechism, there are several quotes that show the Catholic Church's view on protecting the goods of the earth and stewardship. On page 2401, it states, "The seventh commandment forbids unjustly taking or keeping the goods of one's neighbor and wronging him in any way with respect to his goods. It commands justice and charity in the care of earthly goods and the fruit of men's labor." This quote shows that the Catholic Church's goals align with the common good of the environment. The Church says that it's the Church's responsibility to protect the earthly goods, and overfishing would fall underneath this, as fish is one of the goods that God gifted to us. On page 2415, it states, "Animals, like plants and inanimate beings, are by nature destined for the common good of past, present, and future of humanity. Use of mineral, vegetable, and animal resources of the universe cannot be divorced from respect for moral imperatives." This quote shows that the resources that God gave us is given for good reason. It is almost like a gift that is given to us by God, and we cannot deplete these gifts. It is our responsibility to nourish and take care of them for the sake of the past, present, and future of our descendants and our ancestors. Another quote from the Catechism is on page 2420. And it states, "The Church is concerned with the temporal aspects of the common good because they are ordered to the sovereign good or ultimate end. She strives to inspire right attitudes with respect to earthly goods and socio-economic relationships." This quote further proves that the Church cares about environmental problems, and it cares about respecting the earth and treating it with dignity, which connects to overfishing. What the Gospel and the Bible have to say about stewardship. Throughout the Bible, both in the Old and New Testament, the theme of stewardship is never ignored. They always bring up the fact that the animals and their habitats need to be protected. This is brought up more and more in the Old Testament than the New Testament. However, Jesus does bring it up. For example, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, it quotes, "And God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth." This means that humans are to be held accountable when an animal or habitat is being threatened because they have dominion over them. Even the fish in the sea were to be protected and maintained by humans, which we're failing at in overfishing, which is why we need to focus on it. Another quote is from the New Testament, Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 to 30. "For it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money." These are a few verses from the parable of the talents. We all know this parable when the 2 servants make more money than the master gave them, while one of the servants stays lazy and keeps the coin. This can be related to stewardship because God gave us everything on the earth to multiply or nourish. But instead of nourishing or multiplying, what we have done is completely deplete it or make it to the point of endangerment of the species, which is a terrible thing to do.